You need to watch this if you struggle with finding true fulfillment. The Apostle Paul, writing to the church in Corinth, posed a profound question. Where is the wise person? Where is the teacher of the law? Where is the philosopher of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? These words, penned nearly 2,000 years ago, resonate with startling clarity in our modern age. We live in a time of unprecedented technological advancement and intellectual prowess. Yet a pervasive sense of emptiness and disillusionment lingers beneath the veneer of progress. Could it be that the very wisdom we celebrate is leading us astray? The wisdom of the world, as Paul suggests, is often seductive. It promises happiness through material acquisition, social status, and intellectual superiority. It encourages us to rely on our own understanding, to trust in our abilities, and to seek fulfillment in the fleeting pleasures of this world. This wisdom, however, is ultimately a dead end. It leaves us feeling empty, isolated, and yearning for something more. The Bible offers a starkly different kind of wisdom. It is a wisdom rooted in humility, selflessness, and a deep reverence for God. It calls us to deny ourselves, to love our neighbors, and to seek our ultimate fulfillment in a relationship with our Creator. This path may seem foolish to the world, but it is the only true path to lasting joy and fulfillment. One of the most insidious consequences of modern wisdom is the epidemic of isolation that plagues our society. We are more connected than ever before, thanks to the ubiquity of smartphones and social media. Yet, we are also more alone. Technology, while offering the illusion of connection, often serves as a barrier to genuine human interaction. We scroll through carefully curated online personas, comparing ourselves to others and feeling increasingly inadequate. The pursuit of individual achievement, a cornerstone of modern thinking, further exacerbates this sense of isolation. We are conditioned to prioritize our own goals and aspirations above all else. This relentless focus on self-advancement leaves little room for meaningful relationships or a sense of community. We become islands unto ourselves, adrift in a sea of superficial connections. This isolation is not merely a social problem, it is a spiritual one. God created us for community, to live in loving relationship with Him and with one another. When we prioritize our own desires above the needs of others, we sever these vital connections. We become alienated from God, from our neighbors, and ultimately from ourselves. Modern wisdom, with its emphasis on reason and logic, can trap us in the confines of our own minds. We become consumed by our thoughts, anxieties, and insecurities. Our inner dialogue becomes a relentless barrage of self-criticism and judgment. We overthink every decision, second-guess ourselves constantly, and struggle to find peace in the present moment. This inward focus blinds us to the needs of those around us. Our capacity for empathy diminishes as we become increasingly preoccupied with our own problems. We struggle to connect with others on a deeper level, to offer genuine support, or to experience the joy of shared experiences. This lack of empathy erodes the very fabric of society. We become suspicious of one another, quick to judge, and reluctant to extend grace. The bonds of community weaken, and we find ourselves increasingly isolated and disconnected. Our modern world is saturated with messages that promote self-gratification. From advertising to entertainment, we are bombarded with images and messages that tell us to indulge our desires, to seek instant gratification, and to prioritize our own pleasure above all else. This constant barrage of temptation can make it difficult to discern our true needs from our fleeting wants. We are conditioned to believe that happiness is found in acquiring more possessions, experiences, or accolades. We chase after the next purchase, the next vacation, the next promotion, hoping that it will finally bring us the lasting contentment we crave. Yet, this pursuit of pleasure is ultimately a futile endeavor. True fulfillment, as counterintuitive as it may seem, is found not in self-indulgence, but in self-denial. When we shift our focus from our own desires to the needs of others, we begin to experience a deeper, more lasting kind of joy. We discover that true happiness lies not in getting what we want, but in giving of ourselves to something larger than ourselves. Section 5. Greed's grip on society. The relentless pursuit of personal gain, a hallmark of modern wisdom, has a corrosive effect on society. When we prioritize our own success and prosperity above the well-being of others, we create a world marked by competition, inequality, and injustice. We become willing to exploit others, to cut corners, and to compromise our values in the pursuit of our own ambitions. This insatiable greed has led to a widening gap between the rich and the poor. While a select few amass unimaginable wealth and power, countless others struggle to make ends meet. Basic necessities like healthcare, education, and even food security become increasingly out of reach for many. This economic disparity is not merely a matter of statistics. It is a moral crisis. It is a direct contradiction of God's command to love our neighbors as ourselves. When we turn a blind eye to the suffering of others, when we prioritize our own comfort and security above the needs of the most vulnerable, we betray the very heart of the gospel. Section 6. The Digital Age of Malice. The anonymity and reach of the internet have unleashed a torrent of malice and negativity into our world. Social media platforms intended to connect us often become breeding grounds for cyberbullying, hate speech, and the spread of misinformation. We hide behind carefully crafted online personas, spewing venom and vitriol with impunity. This online disinhibition spills over into our offline interactions. We become desensitized to cruelty, more likely to engage in gossip and slander, and quicker to judge and condemn others. The lines between our digital and physical selves blur, and the consequences can be devastating. The Bible warns us against the dangers of such behavior. Let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. Ephesians 4:29. Our words have power, both online and offline. They have the power to build up or to tear down, to encourage or to discourage, to heal or to harm. Section 7. Love in the Age of Superficiality. The modern world offers a distorted view of love and relationships. We are bombarded with images of idealized beauty and superficial intimacy. Romantic relationships are often portrayed as transactional, based on physical attraction, social status, or shared interests. We swipe through dating apps, seeking instant gratification and avoiding the vulnerability of genuine connection. This superficial approach to love leaves us feeling empty and unfulfilled. We crave intimacy and connection, but settle for fleeting encounters and superficial relationships. We become afraid of commitment, hesitant to let our guard down and risk the pain of heartbreak. This fear of vulnerability prevents us from experiencing the true joy and fulfillment of authentic love. It is only when we are willing to be fully known and loved, flaws and all, that we can experience the transformative power of genuine intimacy. Pride, a defining characteristic of modern wisdom, promises power, independence, and self-sufficiency. It tells us that we are the masters of our own destiny, that we don't need anyone or anything outside of ourselves. This seductive lie can lead us down a path of isolation, self-righteousness, and ultimately, despair. When we buy into the lie of our own self-sufficiency, we cut ourselves off from the very source of true strength and fulfillment, God. We become convinced that we can handle life on our own, that we don't need His guidance, His love, or His forgiveness. This pride blinds us to our own brokenness, to our need for grace, and to the reality of our dependence on God. It is only when we humble ourselves, acknowledge our limitations, and surrender our lives to God that we can begin to experience true freedom and joy. The consequences of embracing modern wisdom are all around us. We see it in the breakdown of families, the rise of mental illness, the epidemic of loneliness, and the increasing polarization of society. We are a people adrift, searching for meaning and purpose in a world that seems increasingly devoid of both. The pursuit of happiness, as defined by the world, has left us feeling emptier than ever before. We have more possessions, more choices, and more opportunities than any generation in history. Yet, rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide continue to climb. We are a generation that has seemingly achieved it all, yet still feels deeply unfulfilled. The answer to this crisis, however, is not to be found in more of the same. It is not in accumulating more wealth, achieving greater success, or indulging in more pleasure. The answer lies in a radical reorientation of our hearts and minds. It lies in embracing a different kind of wisdom, a wisdom that runs counter to the prevailing narratives of our culture. The wisdom that God offers is not a set of rules or principles to be followed blindly. It is an invitation to a transformed life, a life marked by love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. It is a life lived in humble submission to God's will, a life characterized by selfless service to others, and a life that finds its ultimate fulfillment in knowing and loving God. This path may seem counterintuitive, even foolish, to a world obsessed with self-advancement and self-gratification. Yet it is the only path that leads to true and lasting joy. It is the path of humility, of surrender, and of embracing the paradoxical truth that it is in losing our lives that we truly find them. This is not to say that embracing God's wisdom will magically solve all of our problems or shield us from the pain and suffering of this world. However, it will equip us to face life's challenges with a renewed sense of purpose and hope. It will connect us to a community of believers who can offer support, encouragement, and accountability. And it will fill us with a deep and abiding sense of peace that transcends our circumstances. The key to unlocking the fullness of life that God intends for us lies in surrendering our own limited understanding and embracing His infinite wisdom. It means letting go of our need to control, our desire for recognition, and our fear of vulnerability. It means trusting that God knows what is best for us, even when His plan doesn't make sense to us. This surrender is not a sign of weakness, but of ultimate strength. It is an acknowledgement that we are not God, that we cannot save ourselves, and that we desperately need His grace and guidance. It is in this act of surrender that we find true freedom, true peace, and true fulfillment. So let us lay aside the folly of modern wisdom and embrace the wisdom of God. Let us turn away from the pursuit of self-gratification and embrace the radical call to love our neighbors as ourselves. Let us step out of our self-imposed isolation and embrace the joy of community. Let us reject the seductive lies of pride and embrace the liberating truth of humility. And let us, with open hearts and minds, seek the wisdom that comes from above, the wisdom that leads to life, to hope, and to lasting fulfillment.